Hey everyone, it's 10 types, and if you know anything about me, you know that in the Pokemon TCG, I like the types, right? I mean, it's in my name. There's 10 types in standard. This is, if you know that like, there's a running bit I have that I don't like fairy, that's the reason why, right? Then there would be too many types. But anyways, there are 10 types in standard, and recently the Pokemon company has been printing more cards in the TCG that are type specific, which are interesting. Personally, I think these are kind of cool. And there are some things I like about them, some things I don't, but ultimately there are some really interesting cards, and obviously a card that supports a specific type can help it be better than the other types. To be honest, in the current standard format, when we look at the top decks, most of these don't have that. The most prominent of being Charizard, which just like breaks it wide open with the Terra mechanic, with that leaving the format. Well, not like leaving the format, but certainly we're losing some Terras with rotation. Post rotation, I think some of these type specific trainers are going to be a really big deal. And I guess the deck that actually kind of does highlight that is Gholdengo. Funnily enough, not highlighting the metal type or the psychic type. It highlights the fighting type with a few different fighting support cards. Say I'm just talking about the trainers and special energies. Something like Lunatone. It's a fighting support card, but I mean, you literally look here. It's not a fighting deck, I guess. I mean, if you say it's a fighting deck because it uses Lunatone, I guess I could see that. And it uses mostly fighting energy. But anyways, these are all trainers and special energy, mostly trainers. And if I missed any, tell me in the comment section. I don't think I did, but if I did, tell me. Also, this is how much they help that type. I guess with stadiums, it's how much they help that type compared to the other types. So S tier is like it's amazing. A tier is it's like pretty good. B tier is like fine, like average, helping it out. C tier it like helps out a little bit, but not very much. D tier it essentially does nothing. Then F tier it actively hurts. F tier it doesn't really make that much sense. So there's one card in F tier which is Night, or what's it? Night Watchtower. Um, what is that? I got the name wrong. Team Rocket's Watchtower. How did I get that wrong? But anyways, Team Rocket's Watchtower, which turns off colorless abilities, so it's like actively bad for colorless. You could say it's like not a colorless card, which is kind of true. It doesn't really fit this tier list, to be honest, but by like the rules I kind of set for myself, it technically did, so I have it here, but it's bad, so kind of ignore that one. But then we'll just go along for the other ones along this list, I think. And the first one is Dragon Elixir, I think. Yeah, I've like not played this card, by the way. There's like a good chunk of these that I haven't played with. Tell me in the comment section if you played with Dragon Elixir. Is that I don't think I have at all. And it's like, it's really niche. It heals Dragon Pokemon. Dragon Pokemon are, I mean, you look at Dragapult, that's a good deck. And some ways healing could be nice. I mean, it plays Monkey Door. Sometimes that's for healing, sometimes for damage. And that's like more of a tech card there, though, as well. And it can be a bit more versatile, as I was just saying. But Dragon Elixir heals 60 from your active Dragon Pokemon. Kind of cool here, but it's not very good. I'll put it in C tier. I mean, theoretically, I feel like it's a good card. Healing 60 for one item is pretty solid, but it just doesn't really work within the metagame. You could see this in B tier, honestly, but it doesn't help you set up like a lot of the good ones here. Like the next one here, Bug Catching Set. Also, tell me if I missed somehow something that is. If any of these are rotating, I'm very confident. I'm pretty confident that they're not. And I'm pretty sure I got all the ones that are not rotating, but tell me if I missed any. But Bug Catching Set here is a really good grass support card. It lets you look at the top 7 and then get any combination of 2 grass Pokemon and or basic grass energy you find there, put them into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. This card is very good, right? I don't know if I'd quite put this in S tier. It doesn't search. I guess we'll talk about Fighting Gong as well next to it. These cards are kind of similar. Fighting Gong is, of course, a card that works with fighting type. And this card gets you either a basic fighting Pokemon or a basic fighting energy, reveal it and put into your hand. A Bug Catching Set can get more cards and also like a wider variety of cards and more total cards. It can get you up to 2, but it could also miss, and it doesn't like see everything in the deck, right? So I'd say Bug Catching Set a lot less versatile. We are ignoring the actual type, right? We're not saying like, oh, fighting is better than grass, so Fighting Gong is better than Bug Catching Set. We're judging them based on what they do. I don't believe there's any that do the same thing here. At least as other ones in standard. There are some that do the same as other ones in like expanded. I guess technically Tarragon and Tulip, but Tulip's rotating. They won't be in standard together. But Fighting Gong is better. I would say Fighting Gong is S tier and Bug Catching Set's A tier. I haven't played honestly that much of either of these. I mean, I played Fighting Gong certainly, but I have not played that much Goldengo, Lunatone, Solrock. But it's very good there. It's very good in like any fighting deck though. I played it at, like a fair amount, and it is very good. Um, it's like amazing for consistency. Honestly, I like underrated it. I thought it was going to be good, and it's even better than I thought. But then bug catching set, again, you don't have quite the versatility there, but I do think it is very good still. I'm going to put an A tier, but it just can come up a little short at times. Then we have the next card here. This one's really different. This is kind of weird. I was kind of considering not doing this. Also, most of these are in the, or a bunch of them are in the Mega Evolution era. I thought most of them were, but then I looked through it and they aren't. Like some are. But I thought it was going to be almost all of them. I think it's like half, which is still very impressive because that's not half the cards in standard aren't Mega Evolution. But anyways, we do have Glass Trumpet, which is a colorless support card. Colorless, it accelerates 2 bench colorless Pokemon. Accelerates basic energy from your discard to 2 of them, but only if you have a Terra in play. So this is more of a Terra support card, and something like Noctowl isn't on here, right? But ultimately, I think Glass Trumpet is fine. I mean, accelerating energy, I guess I'll talk about Wonder Patch here as well. Wonder Patch is kind of similar, um, or Wondrous Patch, um, which is a card that accelerates a basic psychic energy from your discard to one of your bench psychic Pokemon. Glass Trumpet can accelerate 2 energies and can be of different types, but it's also colorless, right? So, in some ways, it's like the same type there. Obviously, you have, I mean, like Trapagos EX. I haven't really. Oh yeah, and then you have it to like the evolutions or the EV, and then you evolve into the evolutions. There's some weird stuff with Glass Trumpet, but ultimately it's kind of like Wondrous Patch, but you do need a Terra in play, so it has a restriction there. This means it's less of a turbo card, but it is a cool card. Wondrous Patch is very good. We've seen cards like this in the past. We've seen Aqua Patch. Um, Dark Patch and Metal Saucer, which were all very good cards in Standard. I think the worst was Dark Patch's second printing, which is the most recent of them, actually. I don't know if they've gotten worse over time. I think Metal Sauce was better than Aqua Patch. But anyways, a Wondrous Patch I think is good. I actually think this card is going to be quite good post rotation. With like standard right now. I actually made a video talking about cards that are kind of replacing cards that are rotating. Gardevoir EX, of course, is rotating. I think that's a big reason why Wondrous Patch isn't being played as a card that was printed to pair with Mega Dance EX. Mega Dance EX is essentially only see play within Gardevoir EX. So I think with Wondrous Patch being able to like replace Gardevoir, I think that's going to be a really nice use case there. So I do think these cards are both quite good. I'll definitely put Wondrous Patch in A. I guess I should probably also put Glass Trumpet in A. I mean, the colorless Pokemon it pairs with are not super strong. It's definitely more of a clunky card. So actually, I could see it in B tier. I'll put it in B tier. I'm just trying to think. No, actually, it is 2 Pokemon though. It kind of reminds me a bit more of something like Beast Ring, or probably a better comparison would be um just that Lost Zone card. This is bugging me. I need to remember the name of it. Oh, that's the wrong era. Let me find a Lost Zone deck. It's Mirage Gate. Okay, yeah, Mirage Gate is actually very similar to, or it's pretty similar to what's it called? I'm blanking on it. Glass Trumpet, because it allows you to accelerate 2 energy. It's like actually different types, but it can be like different types of basics. It's not just one type, but you need to meet a certain condition. But anyways, they are obviously different cards. Mirage Gate is better than Glass Trumpet, but we'll put it in A tier. It's definitely a card that is really interesting. But anyways, then we have another psychic item here, which is Strange Timepiece. Strange Timepiece, if you know me and my channel, you know that I just love this card. It's super mediocre. I'm not gonna lie. You devolve one of your evolved psychic Pokemon, putting any number of evolutions into from it into your hand. There's some weird stuff to it, but for the most part, it allows you to reuse on play ability. Okay, well I don't know why I clicked on this. What? Someone played it in Palafin. Okay, what? Okay, Palafin Festival Lead, which I've seen. I think multiple people play, but anyways, so it's used to reuse on play psychic abilities, of which there are some. Like Alakazam's is, I guess, the best, but its ability is like in a vacuum, which is kind of where you're judging this card, to be honest, because like Alakazam obviously it does its attack and you use a bunch of abilities, but each individual one is like kind of meh. This drawing you 3 cards, but it's like it's a card that draws you 3 cards. It's not immediate. It kind of opens you up to some vulnerabilities. If you didn't know, you can't. Here it actually says that Pokemon can't evolve this turn. Devolving and evolving are kind of like the same thing. You can devolve a Pokemon, or you can evolve a Pokemon and then devolve it, but you can't do it the other way around. It's kind of weird. Evolution's a very niche thing, but anyways, Strange Timepiece is cool, but it only works with a specific set of cards. So I'll put it in C tier. It is also I'm not ordering them within tiers, but it can be good, but as I said, it's specific there. So I think C tier feels perfect. Then we have Blowtorch. Blowtorch also arguably doesn't belong here. I decided to include these cards. You got Blowtorch, I think Kindler, and um Levincia. These all work with energies, so they like don't exactly work or the same way there. But I don't know. I figure they belong here. Tell me if you like don't think they do. I imagine most people would say they do though. But anyways, Blowtorch is a card that you discard a basic fire from your hand to use, and you discard a tool, a special energy, or a stadium in play. I guess the stadium can be yours. The other ones can't. But yeah, this card is interesting to get rid of some of your point stuff. I was super excited for this card. Before it came out, and I like it's been kind of underwhelming to be honest. I would say this is kind of weird, right? It like doesn't help your cards, so it's very different to like compare it to the other ones than like compare the other ones to each other, right? And it's like it is bad, but it's like hurting your opponent, right? This isn't the same thing as Team Rocket's Watchtower. This only works with fire energies, right? So, as opposed to Team Rocket's Watchtower hurting fire energies, if that comparison makes sense. If it doesn't, just don't worry about it. But Bullet Torch is it's not great. I mean, I want to say this card is awesome. I love this card, but it's kind of clunky. I would be interested in hearing your thoughts in the comment section. Also, if I'm like kind of rambly, I honestly have a long day of Pokemon, so that's also why I decided to make this video because I was like thinking about some of these cards. I literally just came up with like a bunch of honestly terrible deck ideas. But Blowtorch is a card that I've always loved messing around with and like control and stuff, but it just I don't know. I guess it goes in C tier. If anyone's figured this card out and figured out a way in which it's super good, tell me in the comment section as well. But anyways, then we have the next card, which is Premium Power Pro. Premium Power Pro. Um, at first I thought this like when this was revealed, I thought this was going to be like a good bit better than Fighting Gong. I don't think that's true. I mean, Fighting Gong is an S tier right now. Premium Power Pro increases the damage you do with fighting Pokemon by 30. Honestly, I think this card is a little underrated right now. It's like very, very good. It's playing Gold. I don't think it's very good in Goldango, to be honest, though. But I think I mean, just doing extra damage with fighting Pokemon is very good. I'd say Fighting Gong is the best reason why, like the main reason why Fighting will be really good post rotation. But I think Premium Power Pro is contributing to it quite a bit as well. So I will put this in S tier. I'm interested in hearing people's thoughts. Obviously on all these cards, but this is one where I'm also interested in more specifically in hearing people's thoughts because it is a card that allows you to do some really powerful stuff, but you need to kind of go find it when you need it, which is a little awkward to do, especially with the rotation of Arven. They do have Team Rocket's Petrol. And then on top of that, you also it's not helping you set up like some of these other really powerful cards here. Then we have Iron Defender. Iron Defender is like the opposite of Premium Power Pro. You take 30 less. It's all your Pokemon, but it's very niche. Maybe it's B tier, but I'll put it in C tier. I feel like it's kind of on a very similar level to a Dragon Elixir there. Taking less damage is like, your opponent knows it's coming, because you play it on your turn, and then it becomes their turn, and they know it's there. Unlike Premium Power Pro, which you play and use on the same turn, so your opponent doesn't have time to like react to it. So ultimately, I would say that Iron Defender is unfortunately pretty bad most of the time. And then we have moving on to the tools. Also, this order is like the same order in terms of items, tool supporters, stadium, special energy is the same order that they show up in Japanese sets. That's why I decided this. But the tool. Punk Helmet is a card that, at least in cards like this, if you're in the active, you're hidden to, you put 4 damage counters on your points active. This obviously is kind of nice for like getting some extra damage, but it's also like He's not that much extra damage, and again, your opponent kind of knows it's coming, right? There's only so much they can do about this. Same thing with Iron Defender. I don't know. I feel like Pine Helmet's a little better. Doing damage is generally a little better than taking less because your opponent, kind of controls how much damage they're doing. But this is, I mean, it's kind of like an early Premium Power Pro, I guess, with some ways, more ways your opponent can kind of deal with it. But I'll put it in B tier. It's like okay, but not great. Then we have interesting card Thick Scale from Ascent Heroes. I'm going to be completely honest. I have not played with this card. I've not really thought about this card, and that's because I think this card is pretty bad. It works on dragon types here, but it reduces the amount of damage you take by 50, but only from attacks from grass, fire, water, lightning. Here, I think the types that it stops does matter. I do think these are the worst types in standard. Post rotation. I don't think. No, well, yeah, water's getting better, so that's useful, I guess. I mean, water is probably the worst type right now. Um, grass is maybe also getting better. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be great. Fire is uh maybe also getting better, to be honest. Then lightning is. I don't think lightning is necessarily getting better, but I don't know. But ultimately, thick scale is not on great types, but these tools like aren't super useful. We'll put in C tier. Maybe it could rise up to B tier, but again, these types of cards, like the ones in C tier, aren't like horrible, but they're just not that good. They're a little specific there. Then we have, moving on to the supporters, we got Tarragon. Tarragon is not out yet, by the way. These are, as I said, post-rotation cards, so post-rotation happens with Nile Zero, or happened with Nile Zero, which is making up perfect order. But anyways, this recovers for any combination, oh, it has a typo, for any combination of fighting Pokemon and basic fighting energy from your discard to your hand. This allows you, obviously, to recover cards, recover a decent variety. There are a few times when this is like super good, specifically with Blood Moon Ursaluna. It's like perfect there, I guess. But ultimately, we've seen cards like this before. They're like fine. Generally, you're not looking for big bursts of recovery. I mean, you look at Night Stretcher. Night Stretcher is really good. A clear top 10 card in the game, and that's a card that recovers one, but it's on an item, right? Tarragon is on a supporter, so it's like fine. I'll put it in B tier. Putting an extra Punk Helmet seems kind of bad. I feel like Punk Helmet's like a low B, Tarragon's a high B. But like honestly, Punk Helmet is a good chunk of extra damage. It's no Premium Power Pro, but it's a decent card. But then we have Jacinth. Jacinth is a supporter from, again, an unreleased supporter. This heals 150 from one of your psychic Pokemon. Heals a bunch. Generally, healing isn't super good, so guess let me check about it. It should play in Japan. It's seen some play. Let me actually check about Tarragon's play. That's also seen some play. So I'll put it in B tier. Jacinth heals quite a bit of damage. And when you're healing, you need to heal a lot. Theoretically, Dragon Elixir could heal a lot without using your supporter if you play a bunch of them, but you need to like commit a bunch of cards. And each individual one isn't doing that much. But I think Jacinth is it's okay. I mean, as I said, generally I don't think healing's super good, but this heals off like almost an entire attack, so that's pretty nice. Then we have Fire Breather. If you know my thoughts on Fire Breather, I think it's really bad. You discard or you search your deck for up to 7 basic fire energies. You'll put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. I've said this about this card a lot. You aren't running that many energies, and you certainly don't really need them. So yeah, like 7 is a big number. Some people said this card was going to be super good when it was revealed. I was definitely a lot lower than most people, and I still might have been too high. I'm not sure. But yeah, this card is pretty bad. I'll put in C tier. It like does something, but for a supporter, what it does is not super interesting. Comparing this to the cards like Fire Crystal or Fiery Flint. How do I spell fiery? I don't know. There we go. Oh, that's how you spell it. Okay. As I said, I'm a little worn out right now. To be honest, I can't spell. But ultimately, this card is, it's an item. It's not quite as good as Fire Breather, but it gets you a bunch of cards. Something like Earthen Vessel, honestly, Professor's Letter, which is an instant Earthen Vessel's rotating. These cards are going to get you multiple energies off of an item, which 2 is like often enough. I mean, Fire Flint gets you 4. You probably don't even need 4 all the time with it. But anyways, so yeah, it just like it's overkill and spending more resources for that overkill. And we have though another interesting card here, Canary. Canary, I've don't know if I played with Canary yet. I might have played with it a little bit, but not much. Just a new card from Ascended Heroes as well. This card has it's pretty interesting here. It's not like quite the same as older cards, I don't think, but it's cool here. You just create another card, and then you search your deck for up to 4 lightning Pokemon. I guess I'll say for GLC this is good. A lot of these cards are very good for GLC. This one's good. It's kind of like Winona or Lance, which I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm not familiar with how good Winona was in Standard. Lance was not very good, I don't think. I mean, I didn't play it, but I don't think it was super good, but it was okay. But anyways, like you need good attacker and support Pokemon. I think Lance saw some play with Dragapult. We do have that with Dragapult EX and Dracoloak, and also you have the previous evolution in Dreepy there. So I mean, Canary is fine. Again, this is a bit of overkill a lot of the time. You'd rather this be a supporter. I mean, you'd rather this be like Fighting Gong, right? That gets you a lot less cards. Or even just like getting a basic of that type would probably be better. I don't know. But yeah, Canary is pretty fine, I think. I'm gonna put it in. I want to put it in. It's B or A. I think it's actually an A tier. Let me see how much play it's seen in Japan. Yeah, it's not seen that much, but Lightning is like not super good either. Lightning doesn't really have good support. Actually, one of the cards that was played in there was Iono's, where there is a good chunk of support in terms of like the lines, but it's just not a good deck, unfortunately. The pieces just aren't there. I mean, the damage just isn't there. But I think honestly, Canary is a pretty decent card. I'll put an A tier. If you're playing a deck like I know if you're just playing any deck and all your Pokemon are the same type, then Canary's amazing. Realistically, that's obviously like not the case, but is it possible? It might be. So I'm going to put in A tier, and then it's going to be somewhere. If it was the case, then it would be S tier if all your Pokemon are the same type. That's not the case, but I'll put an A tier here. Then we got Grimsley's Move. Grimsley's Move is a card that lets you look at the top 7, put a Darkest Pokemon find there onto your bench, then shuffle. You can't use this turn 1. This card is pretty bad, unfortunately. I played it. I think there's a bunch of people who played it. It's like super bad because it's not very consistent. You need other setup to get it to work, and the payoff is like kind of mediocre. I guess while we're here, I'll talk about Force of Vitality. No, I'll wait to talk about Force of Vitality for just a second, but the payoff isn't very good. You're getting a Pokemon essentially at the same speed you get it normally. It kind of adds some versatility, letting you run a bunch of evolutions without their basics, which is like cool, but like either one, you need the cards, in which case, like just commit to them more. Or two, you don't need the cards, in which case, why are you running them, right? And also, like, the selection of Pokemon in this works with is just, like, not good either. I made a festively controlled. I can put this in spoilers. It is cut. It is no longer in the deck. The deck's, like, not super good, but this is one of the weak parts in the weak deck. Then we have the next card, which is Jasmine. What is it? No, Janine. Janine's Secret Art. There we go. Janine's Secret Art. This is a card I also haven't played. I played it, like, some. But anyways, you choose to your darkest Pokemon for each of those, search your deck for basic darkness and attach it, then you poison it. Honestly, this card's like pretty underrated, I think. It accelerates energy on a supporter. Generally gonna be a little better to accelerate on an item. And again, this accelerates like Last Jump accelerates to 2 different Pokemon. You'd rather it be to the same one. But I mean, it's a decent energy acceleration, right? Pretty simply. It's not like absurd, because again, it is 1 to a Pokemon, to each of the Pokemon you're accelerating to, it is 1. Again, it is 2 in total, and you could use like Energy Switch. Also, the selection of Pokemon this works with is like kind of meh. It's just not terrible. Also, it has to be Darkness Pokemon. Obviously, Munkidora is a pretty good Pokemon that uses Darkness Energy. So, it doesn't quite work there. But overall, Janine Secret Art is a pretty decent card. I'm going to put an A tier. If this was on, I don't know what deck this would be good for if it was like a different type. But it's a pretty decent card. Then we have the next card here, which is Full Metal Lab. Full Metal Lab, you take 30 less damage. Your metal Pokemon from attacks. It's like I guess like 6 scales. It's C tier. It's not very good. No, it's not horrendous. Then we have the next card here, Perilous Jungle. Perilous Jungle is actually Alfarius Jungle itself is okay, increasing damage done during Pokemon check up to non-darkness Pokemon, from poison there, which normally does 1. Now it's going to be doing 3. Could be doing more if you like stack its buffs. But ultimately doing this, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter that like it doesn't affect darkness Pokemon. In some ways it kind of helps some, but I don't know. It's kind of like meaningless there, so I'm going to put it in D tier. While we're here, we got Risky Ruins. Risky Ruins is like kind of the same thing. If you didn't know this, it doesn't damage basic non-darkness Pokemon when they're put into play. This is used for some stuff with Munkidori. I personally don't think this card's very good, but ultimately this doesn't really interact with Darkness Pokemon very much. Like it doesn't really matter if it's Darkness or not very much. So I'm gonna put it in D tier here. Then we got Mystery Garden. Mystery Garden is also a card I haven't played that much. I thought this card was going to be absurd. I do need to play this card more. Tell me in the comment section if you have deck ideas for it. Obviously, like Gardevoir. I'm not really a Gardevoir player though. But what it does is you discard an energy. It doesn't need to be a psychic energy, but it can be. But you draw until you have as many cards in hand as you have psychic Pokemon in play. So this can draw you a lot of cards onto Stadium, which is kind of crazy, honestly. We talked about Lunatone. This is kind of similar to Lunatone. It's not the same, but it has some similarity. Oh yeah, this card's gonna go in S tier. I think this card is super crazy. Now I'm gonna put in A tier. You need to be like kind of already set up to be doing stuff, right? But it can draw you a lot of cards repeatedly on a stadium, so it's pretty good in my opinion. Then we got Levincia. Levincia is, I mentioned this earlier, it works with energies, it works with obviously lightning. I actually really like this card's design. I generally like it. I don't really like the other trainer Pokemon's designs because they were a little too specific. I think being type specific is a little bit better. But ultimately, obviously Levincia is a pretty good card. It helps lightning well. I don't know exactly how to rank this. I'll put it in A tier. It's useful. Again, it's like kind of different than the other cards, but I'll put an A tier. Then we have Force of Vitality, which I alluded to earlier. Just like Grimsley's move, it doesn't actually get your Pokemon in play faster. They'll still be in, like, theoretically, the fastest they can get into play is turn 2 with or without this using Candy. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, this card is still, like, decent. When people saw this, I thought it was going to be kind of broken. I guess it expanded, it's kind of broken with Flapple. I mean, Flapple got banned, but I don't know exactly how broken that is in full expand. I played in the live expand, and it was like okay. I didn't play it that much. But yeah, I mean, this card allows you to evolve Grass Pokemon in the turn you play, except for turn 1. And yeah, I mean, this card allows you to come back into games is more so what it does, and burst interesting things into play. It definitely has some cool things it does, so I think it's going to be a B tier card. Ultimately, as I said, it's not actually increasing the speed of your deck, like the ceiling, but it more so raises the floor. But it's kind of hard to search. It doesn't actually, like, it's not actually that consistent either. So yeah, I'm gonna drop it in B tier here. Then we have the last stadium, Surfing Beach. Surfing Beach is a switch from a water to a water Pokemon. Ultimately, this card is kind of bad because it has to both be water. Water is also bad, but honestly, water is a type that likes switching. So yeah, I mean, this card just, I don't know, getting an extra switch every turn is like fine, but um it's clunky because you need to again be like running a deck kind of like with Canary, where you like really want it to be mostly one Pokemon type, but here like really all needs to be one Pokemon type to get good value out of this consistently. One thing, it gets you out of like, being trapped, but then your opponent can just trap a Pokemon of a different type, assuming you're running those, which you, as I said, are in almost every deck. And then also you're gonna have the fact that if you want to do interesting synergies with something like say Tatsugiri and then some water Pokemon, it's not going to work, right? So Surfing Beach and this idea is like kind of clunky, unfortunately. So I'm gonna drop it into C tier. It like is kind of nice. Free switch every turn is nice, but it's not quite free. Obviously, C tier is getting pretty full here, but I think a lot of these cards are just kind of meh. Then we got some special energies. We got, I think it's growth grass energy here is translated as. It's a grass special energy, but it gives you 20 more HP. It's like fine. The cost of special energy is kind of weird because the cost isn't very high. for the most part. Ironically, grass and like the grass type really wants basic grass energies. For the most part, 20 extra HP, like it just isn't super useful to be honest. So I'll put this again in C tier. I can maybe see this in B tier, but I don't think it's very good. And then we have, I'll skip the Psychic one. I actually made a whole video on that one. I will talk about it, but I'll skip it right now. Talk about rock fighting energy. This one stops effects of attacks. I've heard some people say this card is very good. I just don't really agree with that. I think it's okay. I'll put in a B tier here. It stops effects of attacks, not damage, but it's going to stop damage counters being placed on through something like Dragapult EX or Alakazam. Ultimately, Dragapult EX's bench damage counter are only a part of the deck. You'll still be eating a lot of damage if you're like relying on this. It can also be removed, like any special energy here. That's a downside you need to consider. Which then, if it's removed, same thing with growth grass energy. Not the same with the psychic one because that's an on playability, but you lose the whole like point of the card if it gets removed. Because then it hasn't done anything. I guess theoretically it could get removed later and have gotten some value, but that seems very unlikely there. But yeah, stopping effects of attacks is okay. Can be useful, but it's more so a tech thing. And so something like Mist Energy is just going to be a bit better, being more versatile. These are special energies. The three of them only work on their type of Pokemon. Oh, well, they are the energy on every type, but they only provide the special benefit on that type. So I think Rock Fighting falls a bit short of being super useful, but it's okay. I mean, you can't discard it with Lunatone, which is kind of bad. You can't search it with Fighting Gong, which is a little annoying, or get it back with Night Stretcher, but in practicality, I think it's fine. Then we have Telepath Psychic Energy. Of course, if you don't know, I think Telepath Psychic Energy is super cool and one of the cards I'm most excited for the post-rotation format. When you attach it to a Psychic Pokemon, you search for 2 more Psychic Pokemon. And when you attach it to a Psychic, you would search for 2 more basic Psychic, put them onto your bench. So yeah, this is a search Pokemon. It needs a Psychic and then more Psychic. It's kind of like the issue I've talked about with some of the other cards, like Canary or what's the other one? Surfing Beach there, where you need like a lot of Pokemon of the same type. You need that here too, but like the cost of this isn't that high. I mean, those other two are once per turn. Oh, okay, this is also once per turn thing, but it's not like taking the slot of something else really. So I think Telepath Psychic Energy is very good. I'm gonna put an S tier. Maybe it belongs in A tier. I imagine when we look back on this in the future, it's gonna be in like tier. Unless we get a Psychic Dreepy, which is definitely going to be S tier. But ultimately, I mean, this is where I'm going to rank these cards. Obviously, you can see some powerful fighting and Psychic cards. Yeah, I mean, these types are good. Fighting's had some good support for a while. Same thing with fighting, and with Psychic, I guess. But honestly, both types just haven't had the Pokemon to work with them. Yes, obviously, Psychics has some good cards, but they don't really synergize with these cards here. They more so, synergize with Gardevoir EX, an amazing all-time great Pokemon, right? But with that rotating, I think Psychic's still going to be very interesting. With the support cards, something like Alakazam gets a little bit of benefit out of it. But a deck that's more like energy focused could be better. Mystery Energy, or no, Mystery Energy. Mysterious Mystery Garden discards any energy, doesn't need to be a basic. So if you're a deck that like is using a good chunk of energies, you can maybe get some value from Mystery Garden. Telepath Psychic Energy and Wonders Patch, that could be really powerful. Obviously, Fighting Gong and Premium Power Pro are really good for fighting, and Tarragon and and Rock Fighting are also both like fine enough cards. Look at the other types; they're kind of meh. You got some like decent support cards, but yeah, I mean, tell me in the comment section though if you disagree with any of these. But I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the good stuff. And as Osmond said, see you in the next video.